Welcome back to the PSN Commander Network. It's your boy Tone with the A Tech. I'm back with a live stream for I get over the God for God's right now. God's open doors and pave way for all people, all my Lord Jesus Christ. Today we are here with Washington Commanders. Before I get too far into it, quick verse of the day. We're going to get right into tonight's festivities. Romans chapter 2, verse 2 says as follows: "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is good, pleasing, and perfect." That is today's verse of the day. Let's get right into tonight's live stream. We're going to react to the pressure from DQ and Adam Peters. We're going to react to it live. I've not watched it yet. I've not watched a single clip of this joint. We're going to react to this together, and I'll give you my thoughts as the press conference gets along. And then I'll give you my analysis at the end of it. I'll be on for like an hour. Let's get right into it.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us, everybody. Just a reminder for the joint press conferences: state, name, and affiliation, and who the question is directed at.
All right, good to see you guys. As we're getting rolling, I think as the season's over, a lot of would say, all right, now what? And for AP and I, we would say, man, it's just the beginning. We got a lot of work to do. And I know you'll ask, what changes are, being made, and we're not able to go there yet. Everything needs to be and is being thoroughly examined and discussed. And really our work is answering the question, what went wrong and what do we need to do to fix it? And make sure we never, go through this again in a season like this. And so that's our sole focus and what's kind of going to be driving us, in the weeks ahead. So I just wanted to kick into that in gear with you. I know AP will hit a few things and then we'll get the whole thing rocking.
Yeah, just to echo what DQ said, I mean, this season was a disappointment in a lot of ways and certainly didn't meet our standards. And, we're going to do everything we can to not let that happen again. And that starts today with this off season. So ready to attack it and ready to move forward. And whenever you guys are ready, go ahead and hit us with some questions.
John Keim, ESPN. For Dan, you don't know about the changes, but when would you like to get those finalized? And what goes when you're going about assessing coaches, coordinators, how do you go about assessing them to get to whatever decision you want?
Yeah, for sure. It's after a hard season like this, hard decisions are made, but you want to go through everything from evaluation, the communication, the performances. And so we begin that as coaches and scouts. We get together. We talk a lot about the players. We had the exit interviews today, John. So Adam and I also visited with a lot of players, and that's part of how we're, gathering all of our information. So all of these processes are really important, and we just want to make sure like we're doing everything we can, to make sure we're hitting all the marks to get it right.
And Adam, for you, since we haven't talked to you in a little while, I want to go back to the summer with Terry. Given how the season played out for Terry, the injuries, the early struggles and all that, how would you assess how that situation was handled, and how can you apply whatever you learned to future situations?
Yeah, certainly. I think both us and Terry would agree that we would like to get that done a little bit faster. It didn't happen that way. Certainly, there's reasons for that, but ultimately you'd like to get those things done before we did. In terms of where Terry's at, I thought, obviously he got hurt early, but I thought he did a really good job at the end of the year. I was really pleased with where he's at, playing at a really high level right now and going into next year. So really pleased with the end result of the contract. Obviously you'd like to get it done earlier. And I think that's a good lesson too, just engaging in those things a little bit earlier, and hopefully you get to the to the end before we did on this one. And certainly we'll do that moving forward.
Okay.
Nikki Javal with The Athletic.
I like Adam Peters taking accountability. I'm gonna put some accountability on Terry McLaurin as well in his camp. he could still took his happy butt to practice. I get you ain't trying to get hurt and you're not trying to like lose your money. I get that, but as a leader of this team, you still should have came to practice. I do believe that wholeheartedly. Also, I do I appreciate Adam Peters for taking accountability on that. As for what DQ said, we're evaluating the coaches. I do think that it will take time to evaluate these guys. Probably a week or two. They'll have some decisions to make. Whether it's Cliff Kingsbury or Joe Wick Jr. I think Joe Wick Jr. has already been decided on. If I want to be 1,000% honest with you, when someone loses play call and duties support, then they usually don't return to that original team. So, I think your boy Joe Wick Jr. is good as cooked. But see how it goes, and we'll see how things go. You're in perfect time. Let's continue.
Just for both of you, just looking back over this past season, how would you assess the work that Cliff did with the offense?
Yeah, we're going through all the coaches, Cliff, offensively, defensively, on the teams wide, and so that's really what we're digging into, Nikki, to find what's best. How do we do it? Where do we find spaces to improve? And for Cliff, for Joe, for Larry, for all of us, like that's our main focus. Like, so we're never in this space again, and that's what we want to dig in hard on.
And if
He did endorse Cliff Kingsbury. I also find it kind of interesting. He did endorse Cliff. Those rumors true? That he trying to get Cliff up out of here? Not me, not DQ, but like AP maybe trying to get him up out of here. Are those rumors true, bro? Because I'm starting to think there is some truth to those rumors, man. Because the way DQ was talking about Cliff today, that didn't sound too endorsing at all. Maybe it's a disconnect with philosophy. Interesting. Very, very interesting, man. Let's continue. John?
for both of you, if there's one thing that you could go back and redo, I know everything's 2020 in hindsight, but injuries aside, is there one thing that you wish you had done differently or anything like that?
Yeah, there's probably a million things, when you think about it, when you don't have a good season. So it's hard to nail it down to one. I would say looking back, the things that I'm not pleased with is our turnover margin and to not create enough takeaways, not doing a good enough job with the ball. Those are the things that come to mind first. We want to play bold. We want to play aggressive, but that part, you have to more emphasis, more things in for it. That would be one that comes to mind first. The one thing, there's too many to list. There's like paper cuts, or like, I don't know how the saying goes, like death by a million paper cuts. There's, like when you're in this space, you're constantly evaluating and okay, where do we go? And even yesterday, like I had said, I'd hope we'd find some of these winning time moments before the off season. And so yesterday, being behind in the fourth quarter, getting a touchdown, getting a stop, getting another touchdown, defensive stop, that's what I was looking for. And so to see some of that applied through the practice, I was pleased to see. I thought it was like a step in the right direction. We're not waiting till the off season to get this shit fixed. Like it has to be addressed and worked on. And so I was pleased to see.
So about waiting for the off season to get this ish fixed. Boy, DQ was not playing. Boy, DQ like, nah, we fixing this ish right now, bro. No, we ain't playing with y'all. We fixing this right now, bro. No, this gotta get fixed, gang. Commanders suck, and I'm tired of being sucky. So we gonna fix this right now, bro. I ain't mad at DQ, bro.
That no matter who is in.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what he said. I think, taking care of the ball, doing a better job tackling, but the fundamentals of the game and our play style, I think, slipped a little bit. But those are things that we really need to hit on and harp, from the very beginning and make sure that we're upholding that standard week in and week out.
David Aldridge with The Athletic. Adam, what do you think needs to be fixed on this roster?
fixed. I think, the health played a big part. Certainly it wasn't even close to the only part, but I think starting with a healthy team and really staying healthy is a big deal. But I know there's, I feel really good at some spots, but there's certainly a few spots where we can improve and get young, really, fast, exciting, explosive talent. And that's what we're doing right now.
Woo,
Working on the
okay.
draft.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Young, fast, explosive talent. Okay, AP.
Got a set of draft meetings coming up next week, which I'm really, really excited about. Got the scouts all showing us their reports and identifying some guys. We have a high pick, which is something that you don't really want if it's your own pick, but we're going to take advantage of that and try to find a young, explosive playmaker, wherever that may be.
Specifically on the defensive side of the ball, what are you going to be looking at in attacking?
I think there's a lot of spots I think where we can look at. I think certainly another pass rusher would be something we'd definitely be looking for, whether that's the draft or free agency. I think we have.
See, AP is speaking the gospel right now. That's what I'm talking about, AP.
A lot of good options in both of those areas.
Liam Griffin with the Washington Times. For both of you, I know you're not ready to address potential coaching or personnel changes, but when you're looking at adding coaches or adding coordinators to the staff, what kind of traits are you looking to prioritize in that process?
When you're putting a staff together, like prior to coming here, Liam, you wanted to, one, it's the talent of the coach, but also the fit. And it's not a hell of a lot different than, like from Adam's side and a player to adding it to the group. You've heard us talk about commanders, and it's really no different on that side. It's the fit, it's the talent. What do they bring that's unique? And that's a great question, man. But somebody to communicate, collaborate, has unique skill set to teach. I think that's the number one top of the pile when you're teaching. Part of this is why you need to know this specific skill. This is for the game, for the coaches that make it come to life. I think that's what you see when the players can perform at their best. So those are a few of the things.
And for Adam, you guys were the oldest team in the league by a snap weighted basis this year, and you're coming into a season with kind of limited draft capital. So how do you go about, returning the 30 pending free agents and getting younger while trying to maintain a sense of continuity?
Yeah, I think that's something that's been talked about a lot, and I think fairly in a lot of aspects. But, I think you're always trying to get younger and faster, and I think that'll be a big emphasis for us this offseason.
I hear the speed coming around the corner. Awesome.
I know you guys have had a lot of 1 and 2 year deals in free agency, specifically your first couple of years here. Do you anticipate getting more aggressive with you guys having a lot of cap space this offseason? And then how do you balance that as a GM of, picking your spots to go with smaller with deals or maybe taking some bigger swings in free agency?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the opportunity and the specific players. Like I think with certain players when we got here, we did a little longer term deal, three-year deals. That we haven't done much more than that, except for extending our own guys. But I think a lot of it depends on the player, the opportunity, and just how they fit. There's a lot of risk, I think, in free agency if you don't have a ton of familiarity with that. And in the past, places I've been, the biggest mistakes we made were investing a lot in a lot of years into a player you don't really know. So I think there's where you carry a lot of risk in making a big mistake. So we'll look at everything individually, but I don't think any of us have any aversion for doing the long-term deals. It just depends on the player and the situation.
Okay.
With Washington Post, Adam, is there a way to come up with kind of a long-term plan to keep Jaden upright and make sure he plays 15 or 17 games rather than 7?
Is there a way? I think really, and this might be a better question for DQ, but from me, I think is just continuing to, I think from my, from a personnel or GM perspective, is continuing to put good players around them. That's in front of them at the O line. It's running backs to control the ball and control the clock and not put it all on his shoulders and get in second and third and manageables. It's receivers that he can trust and throw to so that he's not holding on to the ball longer. And so from my perspective, it's just getting good players around him, getting a good defense on the other side. So he's not
I might not listen to this whole daggone thing. I think he said what needed to be said. Edge rusher was the number one priority for this team in the offseason. It will be the number one priority. Just getting good players around him. I'll have some more mock free agencies for y'all as well. But yeah, it's just this is music to my ears, bro. Like this needs to happen, fool.
it's not all on his shoulders to win the game. So DQ can probably talk more schematically, but in terms of from me, I think those are the things that I can and need to do to help him out.
Involved in those discussions of like, hey, this is how we want you to play. This is who we're surrounding you with. How much of it
very much so, that part. And even after his injury, we specifically said, this is the area, this is what we're going to work on him, as opposed to waiting till the off season. We decided let's get a jump start on that. So very much so will he be a part of it, but I would say not only will he, like we already are going there. And so it's really important. We know what he brings to us, what it means to us. And, I think it's all encompassing, and how we go play the game. So, we're like fully committed to, finding ways to continue to do that.
Tom Shad with the Washington Post. Adam, I had a couple questions about Laramie Tunsil, obviously one of the big offseason additions. How would you evaluate kind of the impact that he had on the team? Have you had any talks with him, early talks about a contract extension? And did the situation with Terry kind of inform how you'll go about those potential talks?
Yeah. In terms of the evaluation, I think in his impact on our team, I thought it was really outstanding, both on the field and in the locker room. He's a great leader. I don't think, and he's not really upfront about it, but he's an outstanding leader. He's an outstanding mentor to the other old linemen. He's a really good teammate, and in a lot of ways that you don't really see because he's not looking for attention, but really just it's been really, really awesome to get to know him and to see how he goes about his business. Incredibly hard worker. And then on the field, I thought, he was one of the better left tackles, if not the best in the league. He didn't get recognition for the Pro Bowl, which I was disappointed in, but you look at the
I love that he pointed that out. I love the fact that he said that. I think Laramie Tunsil is one of the 4 or 5 best left tackles in football. I completely agree with AP. You can argue he's number one. You can make the argument. He was phenomenal last year. In this past season, I think he was phenomenal. He didn't allow a ton of pressure Jaden's way. Didn't allow him. I think he would allow 2 sacks all season, something like that. I think he was absolutely phenomenal on that left-hand side for J5. So completely agree with him.
Metrics, he did a great job. So that's all to say that we've had constant communication. He's self-represented, but he has a team around him that we have constant communication with and had throughout the year. So I think what I can say is we definitely want to get something done with him, and sooner rather than later.
Scott Abraham, ABC7. This question is for both of you. I think the big question fans want to know here is, how do you go from a team that was 1 win away from going to the Super Bowl, and injuries aside, because every team goes through injuries. So how do you go from a team that was 1 win away from going to the Super Bowl to 5 wins? Like, what happened? Like, how can you do some self-reflection and aside from injuries?
Yeah, we're digging that as hard as we can, Scott, honestly. So we will never be in this, situation or have a season like this again. So many factors to say, how do we play it better? How do we coach it better? How do we live it better together? One of the reasons that gives us so much insight for why we're going to play excellent football, it's the locker room. And when you go through, a terrible season, you find out a lot about guys, and you've been in the locker room, you've seen how tight and connected these guys are and how hard they want to fight for one another. So in the midst of a terrible season, I know that part is right. And if you have that part right, Scott, then I'm certain, with the changes, with the things that we need to do moving forward, we're not just trying to be good for 1 year. We're trying to do it as good as we can for a long time. And man, are there lessons from this season that we're going to apply in 26, 27, 28 and beyond. And that's what I'd want you and our fan base to know that, man, it was hard and hard decisions have to be made. But if I can tell you how many lessons there are to gain, man, it's a crazy amount.
Adam, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo a lot of what DQ said, but obviously it's not just one thing. It's not just the injuries. It's not just this. It's not just that. But going through a season like this, which is terrible and certainly not even close to our standard, like you said, that there's a lot of lessons that we learned and a lot of lessons we'll apply moving forward in terms of, myself, just the decisions that I make on a daily basis, the decisions that we make in terms of our roster construction and all those different things. But we look at everything, and it's a good time to reflect, and we'll have a lot of time this off season to really dig into all of that. We've looked at a lot throughout the season, but really can get together and say, what can we do better? And that's looking at everything, every single thing.
And Adam, I want to quickly ask you about the tight end position. Obviously, Zach's future is kind of uncertain right now. You're looking at the tight ends on the roster. How do you evaluate that and maybe add another piece in terms of a tight end free agency draft?
Yeah, so we have, I believe, 3 coming back under contract, which is it's Bates, Ben, and Yankoff. Cager's on the practice squad, and then obviously we lost Zach, which was a big loss. Zach's a Hall of Fame caliber player who was really, really excellent in the pass game. So I think just depending on how Zach comes along and coming back, I don't anticipate him being ready at the beginning of the season. But so you look and to develop and really utilize those 3 guys' skill set, and I think they're all really good players in their own right. Ben's developing a lot. He's gotten a lot better this year, and I think he's got another level to go to. John's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, and Colson's kind of a jack of all trades, but an excellent special teams player for a tight end. So as you're looking at it right there, where can you find someone who's really, really good on third down? Could it be one of those guys? Somebody can always get open that the quarterback can always rely on. Can it be one of those guys, or are we going to go outside, whether the draft or free agency, and get that? So think of a Zach Ertz type of skill set where, Jaden knows where he's going to be, when he's going to be, and trust that he's going to catch the ball and make the play.
Like you said, Zach Ertz like skill set and not a Zach Ertz clone. Because I do want a Zach Ertz like tight end, because Zach Ertz has prime Zach Ertz. And I told Zach Ertz the last 2 years in Washington and toward the end of his tenure in Arizona. I'm talking about prime, 100 catch Zach Ertz. I'm talking Eagles. ELGS Eagles, that guy. EAGLES Eagles. That Zach Ertz, the Philadelphia one. Was a dog. I mean, he was a dog toward the end of his career. Zach was phenomenal, given that he lost his athleticism, lost his speed, things of that nature. He was still eating, still getting open. Zach is a dog, bro. And I remember coming to my dad, shout out my pops. When we first signed Zach on, he ain't like said, "Let me get this old fool for my knowledge. Zach got some juice left, man. I don't think Zach Ertz done." Also, was a little biased. I am a Zach Ertz fan. I am a Zach Ertz stan. Loved him from the days in Philadelphia, and I hate he was an op, but I just love the way he played the game. Zach Ertz is a dog. And I wish we got to see Carson and Zach play together here. That would be kind of cool. Not here nor there. Here's what it is. But yeah, besides Zach, prayers out to bro with the ACL tear, and maybe Ben said it could be a complimentary tight end. I just don't think it's a tight end one in this league. But we didn't see enough to really say yes or no. But the way I think they utilized him told me kind of what I needed. We will see. We will see. We will see. We will see how that goes in the offseason.
Play, which he did really incredibly for the last 2 years, and that's sorely missed for sure.
Hey guys, JP Finley, NBC4 1067. Adam, for you, going into this draft with just 2 picks Thursday, Friday night, how does that impact how you approach free agency, whether it's more aggressive or a different approach than perhaps these last few seasons?
I think you always want to look at the overall landscape with the draft and free agency and understand where the strengths and the weaknesses are and use those to your advantage in terms of where you're going to really invest in one or the other. Obviously, free agency comes first, and then I wish it was the other way around where you draft first and you supplement with free agency. That's not the way it works though. But with only having, one pick, like you said, or we have two. Yeah. Sorry. We don't have a second or a fourth, which, actually very happy that turned out that way with Laramie. I think I would do that one all over again, but obviously we have a top 10 pick, which, you could look to.
Say that again. I don't have a second and a fourth round pick, but I would do it again. I would do it 10 times over. Laramie Tunsil's a dog. You heard your GM. Oh, we should trade for Larry Tunsil. Maybe do that. Shut your mouth. We got a top 5 left tackle in football on our football team because our GM know what the frick he doing, bro. Stop questioning my general manager, bro. Stop playing with AP, bro. All right? Don't play with AP, bro. Don't play with AP, bro. AP know what he doing, bro. And does AP bat 1,000%? Does he hit 100% from the floor? Is he perfect? Is he Jesus? No. Is he falling short of the glory of God? Is he falling short of the glory of being one of the best GMs in football? Yes, bruh. He ain't perfect, bruh. But I do think he has been more right than wrong with his decisions in Washington. And we need to shut up and let our GM and be cool with the results, bro. Johnny Newton went from 2 sacks this year to 5 sacks this year. Yes, he had the 3-sack game. Ben Sinnott went from 6 catches this year to like 12 catches this year. Now, do I want to see more from Ben? Yes. Do I want to see more 2 tight end sets? Yes. Is Cliff the answer for that? I don't know. But I do want Ben Sinnott more involved in this offense. I think Ben Sinnott does have a skill set that has not been utilized correctly, and I want to be utilized correctly. I think that's on Cliff Kingsbury. I think some of these other young guys, Mikey is struggling in coverage. The way he has done, he's taking the ball away. He did something that Emmanuel Ford was supposed to do. And he's doing it at a very high level. But 5 turnovers for one player is a good number for a point. I don't care what you say. You forced 5 turnovers. The 4th time on special teams with 4 interceptions. He also has 12 pass deflections, by the way. So it's not all bad with Mikey. We want to scream, Mikey tried. I don't want Mikey on this team, though, but Mikey sucked. Mikey Saber still sucked. Mikey has his ups and downs like every other young player on this team, bro. Even Jaden has ups and downs, bro. We need to trust our GM. But more importantly, I need my coaching staff to develop these players correctly and put them in position to succeed. And if the certain coach cannot maximize all the talent on their side of the ball, he must go. I'm talking Joey Jr. And if Cliff Kingsbury can't also do the same thing, then I'm going to start questioning him, and he might have to go too. But as of right now, the one guy on this coach that has to go right now is Joey Jr. But let's continue. I'm glad that Adam Peters said he would do the trade all over again. I'm tired of hearing y'all saying that nonsense and crying like a little baby like some children. So I'll give him a note.
To move and get more picks if the opportunity arises. But certainly I think every offseason, no matter what your picks are, what you have, you're always trying to maximize both the draft and free agency, getting guys that, you might not be able to get in the other one. So if you're going free agency, it's super heavy at one position, maybe you go there, and then the draft, you go elsewhere to fill those needs.
Sorry, DQ, that all the questions are for Adam, but we get to talk to you all
No
the
worries,
time.
man.
You guys talk about your comprehensive approach a lot. Adam, I'm curious, what's your role in the coaching staff decisions?
I'm really just here to support DQ. The coaching staff is DQ's, and I'm always here to help, like during the season and off season, however I can, to help support him and help him make the decisions that he needs to make, and certainly wherever he needs. So it's not, I'm not involved in whatever decision it is. It's always DQ's call, and I have his back on whatever he wants to do.
There's not silos here, JP, coaching and scouts. We connect, we talk a lot, we visit a lot. And so It's one of the things I enjoy most is those conversations. It's different perspective, different points of view. So it's as collaborative as I've been a part of.
Yeah. Good evening, gentlemen. David Harrison, WSA 9. Coach, unfortunately, I do have a question for you. Yesterday, Von Miller talked to us about, or said a familiar phrase that you say a lot is forget next time, get them this time. And when he mentioned that, he said that the reason he has that saying is because it comes from not playing for yourself. When you play for yourself, you can get that sack the next play, or you can get that tackle the next time. But when you're playing for each other, you want to get it this time. There is no next time. I mean, how much does that resonate? I know you have said that phrase. How much does that resonate with the spirit of why you say that?
Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me that I heard him say that. He has been a remarkable teammate. Adam was talking about Laramie and kind of the impact that he's made. And both of them are quiet, so confident in how they play and their style. It's almost like they can speak softly, but you're leaning in. People want to gain the knowledge and the wisdom that they have. And I'm super grateful for both of them because they're wanting to share that knowledge and that wisdom.
I love that. I wouldn't mind Von Miller back here. I know you want to get younger, faster, explosive. I think you can do that. I think you can do that overall. Having one legit veteran in the room, in every room, is not a problem. Like, I think like having Von and his experience helps with Dorrance Armstrong. I think it helps a guy like Javonte John Baptiste. I think it helps a guy like even a Jalen Phillips if we signed him to free agency. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think having if it Von still got some juice left. Von ain't trash. Von ain't trash, y'all. Bro just had 8 sacks this season. Quiet 8 sacks. There were 8 sacks. Von as a pure situational pass rusher that would play 15 to 17 snaps a week as a mercenary, I would sign up for that every day of the week if I was watching for that.
And as a veteran player, you can imagine the impact that it has on the younger ones. And even one we're calling younger, I'm saying been in the league a shorter amount of time. It's very cool to go through. This is going to happen. You can hear him on the sideline talking. Next one, we're going to do this. This play is going to happen. And so those are things that come up that you can't really coach. It comes with the experience. And there's advantages with having people like that on the roster that have wisdom and impact. And if they're willing to share it, that's a big deal. And neither Laramie or Vaughn or Wags or Zach or any of them, we've never had even conversations. Will you take this one under? Will you do that? Because that's not like forcing someone to lead. Like, that's not effective. They just naturally, get a way to pay it forward. And it's really cool. I've had in a really tough season, I've really enjoyed coaching Vaughn.
And AP, as you get closer to draft weekend, is there a point in your process where, as you guys are building like your top 100 list or however you design your board, that you get the coaches involved and kind of say like, hey, we really like this player because of these traits. How do you think he would fit into what you're trying to do as a coordinator?
Yeah, actually, it kind of plays off what DK just said. I mean, we collaborate on everything. So the coaches are involved with everything we do in the off season, very involved. And like we go through, say, a free agency meeting a few weeks ago. Well, we kind of break it down and give our list to the coaches. The coaches watch the players that we have identified, so they don't have to watch everybody because they don't have the time to watch everybody. And then we all meet together and we make those decisions collaboratively. So that's the same with the draft. So we're not going to draft players that the coaches don't like, that don't fit their scheme, and we'll really heavily lean to that. And if we don't understand it, then we'll sit down together and watch film, and they'll explain why this player fits us. And it really is a great learning lesson for both of us. And when we do that, when we get players that the scouts like and the coaches like and the analytics like, those are our biggest hit rates. So I don't really know any other way to do it. And I don't think there's a better way to do it than to collaborate and make sure that we're all on the same page and all bought in.
Just recently, the scouts were here on some meetings and just, have a team meeting and you see all of them in the back. It kind of speaks to everybody doing it together. Everybody's tight in the room. And so having the scouts here with the coaches, with the team, I think that's a perfect example of how we, kind of mesh everybody together. Like, here I am looking out at players and coaches and scouts, and, in the team meeting Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, as they were, took a break from their meeting to come into the team meeting. This is how we're going to go win. This is how we're going to go attack it. So I liked them being all in our meetings the week they were here.
Mitch Tischler, Mighty Mouse Sports. Dan, for you, in your head coaching career, you've kind of done it both ways where you've been both head coach and DC or had somebody that you can delegate to. Is it on the table that next year you would stay in the same role that you kind of finish this season, or you think it's better as a head coach to be able to delegate and kind of be big picture?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mitch. I think what I've learned is make the best decision for what the team needs. And so as we're going through this, man, a lot to gain through these exit interviews, where we're at. And but that's really where I'm at. I'm not into that space yet. I'm definitely doing this. I'm definitely not. What I do know that I'll be heavily involved, one way or another. And that's part that I do enjoy. But yeah, I think I'll keep an open mind, as I'm going through the next, parts of the process.
And you've hired a couple different staffs throughout your career. How do you balance going after coaches and personnel folks that versus guys who might be able to bring in kind of new ideas, different ideas to a team as a whole? How do you balance kind of?
Yeah, I think you want to always have like a contingency planning system ahead for when, changes are made. And so you want to think about those people who are fresh, who's, on ideas, who's within your own, building that knows statuses to go. And so you keep that in mind. But you're always just kind of, watching and learning and growing, and you have to adapt. And some of the things that were effective, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, evolve and change. And it's kind of one of the fun parts of coaching. And through the years, I've met some fantastic coaches that I didn't know before. And, one that left this year was Tavita. And so when I got here, he was somebody that I wanted to hire and be here. And so, man, I'm super grateful. I learned a lot from Tavita. And that's just like one small example amongst others, a Bobby Ingram or others that, I may not have known or I'd known of them. And then to actually, go shoulder to shoulder and a couple.
I learn from other people too. Hope he learns better clock management though. That's something I did not like from DQ this year. And also I hope he learned that, all these games count, man. We can't afford the most small mistake. We gotta be locked in. We gotta make plays. We gotta win games. And I think DQ will be more locked in than ever. And I think he will do that.
Years, then you find out a lot.
Ben Standig with the Team 980 and the Last Man Standing. Adam, for you, with regards to the wide receiver room, going back to the spring and summer, obviously in an ideal world, you have Terry, you have Debo, and you have Noah Brown, but you have Terry holding out early on. Noah gets hurt in minicamp, misses all of training camp, and both those guys were out. At what point did you just look at that and think we still have enough depth? Because from the outside seemed to be a wonder as to what would happen, and obviously those guys were out a lot of the year.
Yeah, I think anytime you get your top two starting guys, it hurts your depth regardless of how much depth you have. Certainly, we're always looking for help. We're always looking to get every room better. We explored a lot of different ways to get better. We ended up getting Trey Burks, who ended up being a really good player for us down the stretch. But yeah, a lot of it has to do with opportunity and then what the cost is in order to do that. And did not, I think both Noah's and Terry's injuries probably were a little bit longer than we thought they were going to be. And so all that played into it, but certainly, it made it hard for Jaden, but with not having the full complement of receivers and some young guys behind him. So I think that's a good lesson for sure. But I think, we did explore a lot of different things. We just didn't always pull the trigger, just depending on what that costs or what, whether it's draft capital, whether it's contract, whatever it is, and I think it's certainly something we'll have to look at down the road.
And obviously the front office is about looking ahead. The coach is about looking in the moment. When you guys are in the position where you're eliminated from the playoffs or the season's going a certain way, do you weigh in and say, hey, maybe we need to get some younger guys in to see what we have next year, or even have a discussion about, hey, if we win a game in the last week, it could affect draft status and the importance perhaps of that, even if you say we're not going to worry about that? Do you weigh in on those matters?
I told him the tank and he just said no. No, that game.
Hey, go ahead, bro. He said, I say tank, and they said no. It's crazy. Oh, man. AP got jokes, I see.
The game was important for us to win, so I'm really glad we won for a lot of different reasons. But in terms of just weighing in on personnel things, I think it goes back to what Q was saying. We talk all the time. We talk every single day, all day about how can we do better. And I'll make suggestions and I'll say, oh, that's a good idea, or no, this is why we won't do that. But I think that's a constant dialogue between us, and there's no it's we have a great respect for each other. So if I ask a question, he knows where it's coming from, and it's not coming from a bad place. It's either coming from trying to get information or just understanding. So, but yeah, we're always talking about that, every single week, regardless of our record, always trying to, sometimes I have ideas that I think are good and they're not. And he'll tell me why. And then sometimes they are good. So I think that's a healthy relationship that we'll always have. And I hope that, we'll continue to have. Yeah.
Time for 3 more.
I'm messing with you. Good evening, Candy Waller, Bowie TV. And this is for both of you all. When you take a look at your draft classes, so last year and this year, how well do you think they're doing? Are they right where you think they would be right now, or have they exceeded expectations, or not so much?
I can start, Candy, on that. Adam and I visited with a lot of them over the last, 2 weeks or so. And I love some of the trajectory that some of them are on. The belief that we have in them is so strong. And so that's kind of what your first and second year is. It kind of goes up and it goes down. I wish development was just like going straight up. That would be awesome. But what I can say is, like, we've got some really, really good, strong foundation pieces of what we're building that are commanders that play it the right way. And like, to see them develop and grow, like, that's one of the things I love the most about our team and where they're headed.
Yeah, I would echo that and just say, there's a lot of really young players that still have a great future ahead of them. So there's guys that haven't had as many opportunities as others for whatever reason, and a lot of times it's because there's good players in front of them. But we still have a ton of belief in all of them, and they all have another level they can go to, every single one of them, and they're all willing to do that. So very happy with the young men. And like Q said, some have developed faster, some have had their ups and downs, and that's okay. We all do, especially when we're first starting something. But in terms of all that, I have a ton of belief in all those guys.
Donna Hopkins, Pro Football Plus. This is for both of you all. When you look at depth across the team this year, do you feel like in each area you had it? And if not, what do you think you needed most in preparing for 2026?
Yeah, Donna, it's a good question. It's it's something that you're thinking about constantly. And even as that shifts, like offensive line, we really had our most depth. And even that was challenged here at the end of the season with some different roster change up. So with the addition of the practice squad and allowing that to be, that is a bigger piece than it's ever been. And some veterans, some not, but developing within is a really big piece. We'll continue to dig in hard on that as developmental coaches. That's our job, to take them to the next spot, take them to the next level. And we're just talking about some of the players that we have so much belief in. It is helping them get to that next spot. And so as depth goes, you got to dig in, you got to find where you're vulnerable, where you got to keep developing people, what would be the contingency plan if this happened this week. So that's really where like the start of the week goes with Adam and I on Monday, after we get done through the injury report, what would change, what would be the same. And this year we had far too many of those conversations about this is how we'll go and this is how we'll play it. But it also came from that, some guys that maybe we wouldn't have known as much about, and how would it go and what it would look like. And so when called upon, how would they deliver? And, as we're going through it, it's difficult at times, but having that depth piece is a big deal, and it's developmental. It's taking people to the next space most often.
Yeah, it was certainly challenged our depth this whole year. And, really, first I would say just great job by our personnel staff, because every Monday was a challenge in getting the guys in that we could just to play. but then certainly you got to think about where do you have depth for guys that are ready to play and contribute? Where are you using that depth for guys on the practice squad that you want to develop and continue to, they may not be quite ready to play yet. And so, learning to find that balance and at every position is something we're always constantly trying to get better at. But yeah, we were certainly challenged this year. And I think, finding the balance of getting enough players that when you're really decimated at a position to get out and get you out of a game till those guys get back. That's certainly something we're going to look into.
Hey guys, Zach Peerless, CBS Sports. This is for Adam. This is going back a couple years for you, but you were with the 49ers in kind of an eerily similar spot where you had a breakthrough year. Then next year there were some injuries kind of across the board, kind of fell back, and then you guys got right back to it. Does this situation remind you at all of that one? And what lessons did you learn of being able to build and have that roster right back after kind of that one down year following the breakthrough?
Yeah, first of all, I hope so. Hope that happens. And those things, I mean, that I remember that year vividly, and it's a nightmare, when you have these certain games like we had in Green Bay, or we had that in that year in New York, where it was like carnage, and it's really hard to bounce back. But I think the lessons are, you look into everything. You look into why the guys got hurt. Sometimes they got hurt because it's just a freak injury. Sometimes they got hurt because we didn't do a good enough job load managing or getting them warmed up or whatever it is. So you can look into all that. I have great belief in our health and performance team. They do a really good job. They have a ton of care for our players and really appreciate that. But you look into that, you look into, the type of players you bring in, their injury histories moving forward. You really dig into that. A lot of the times, the past injury history dictates kind of their future injury history. So that's a big piece of it. But really, what I'm proud of this year, and I think that year as well, that was a little more challenging because it was a COVID year, and we ended up having to move to Arizona for a month. But it really tests your resolve, and it tests your what we call brotherhood. And what was cool.
But that brotherhood word again. But I like what I hear from them. I don't think I need to watch the rest of this. AP is taking some full accountability on things. I love you too, Brody. I just love the fact that AP took accountability of some things he's done this offseason that wasn't perfect. I love the fact that DQ took his accountability as well. And I just think this team is going to be better next year, man. I just truly believe this Commanders team is going to be right back to relevancy. I think the NFC's wide open. Team like the Cowboys aren't good for real. I think they're going to lose George Pickens. And if they don't, they got franchise tag them. Now hopefully they're going to get a long-term deal done with them. So they're going to be in cap. They're going to be in cap hell. Team like the Eagles. I don't think the Eagles are going to fall off per se. I just don't think they're Super Bowl contenders anymore for real. For real. The offense is mid. They need another coordinator. Can't trust them. Giants are up on the rise. They're going to be a tough team next year. They're going to get Malik Neighbors back. Jackson Dart's like a true quarterback one. They're going to be tough. You look at the Rams, they're going to be tough. If Stafford doesn't retire, they're going to be tough. The Cardinals, they're iffy, but they have some good pieces on offense and defense. They're interesting. You look at the Niners, they're going to be tough. They just went 12-5 or 12-5 with all these guys injured. They're going to lose Brandon Ayuk. They're going to cut him and stuff like that. But they're going to be right back into relevancy next year. I think the Niners are going to be a tough team as well. I think they're Super Bowl contenders. They like the Seahawks. Seahawks are a tough team. Their defense is elite. Sam Darnold's playing well. JSN is a elite wide receiver one in this league. And they're going to be a tough team, bro. They're going to lose. Definitely going to lose a Kenneth Walker III to somebody. I think K9 is going to go somewhere else. But they'll still have Charbonnet drafting a running back. They'll be fine. Look at the NFC South. I think the Bucs will get right back to dominance in that division next year. I think they're going to wake up. They're going to fire Todd Bowles, get an offensive mind in here to help Baker Mayfield. They'll be right back in it like Cook Crack. Sorry about the reference there. But they'll be back like in the 80s. and be back like the 80s. What's the NFC West? NFC South. Saints. I think the Saints are going to be decent next year. Tyler Shutt is like a true quarterback. Still got Chris Olave on offense. They did trade Raheem Shaheed away. They end the season with a nice hot streak. Then they'll take that momentum to next season. They have some confidence going in next season. They can win some ball games. The Panthers just won the division. I don't think they're going to go away quietly either. I mean, the Falcons are going to be a tough team. They have a ton of talent. They need the right coaches to come in there. And they can turn them right up. And next thing you know, Tampa is like the weakest team in the division, so the strongest team. You know what I mean? The margin in the NFC South is very thin. Then the North, Detroit, I call them the YBC duel, state of Mr. Disrespectful to the NFL. They're going to be a tough team. I think they'll bounce back next year. You got the Packers. They'll get Micah Parsons back. They got Trayvon Diggs in there now, so their defense looks pretty formidable. And then offensively, we know what Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs are capable of. Vikings are the wild card. Is JJ McCarthy the guy? What are they going to do at quarterback? Got JJ, got Jordan Addison. TJ Hawkinson might be a cap casualty, but they still have some good offensive pieces. Jalen Nails are free agent for them. I think they're going to try to re-sign him. And they got some good pieces on offense, and I think defensively, they can keep Brian Flores around. I think their defense will be pretty good as well. I think Harrison Smith's going to retire, but I think they're a tough team as well. Their roster's tough. So this NFC is wide open, bro. Like, this NFC is wide open. The Commanders can go from 5-12 this year to 11-6 and fighting for a conference championship. It could happen. You're gonna get 5 back. Terry won't be fighting for a contract next year. You gotta improve this offensive roster a bit. I think we need another third down back to replace Austin Eckler. I think Bill's an RB. I'm leaning towards that now. You want to bring back C-Rod, fine, but we need a true third down back, a guy that can catch pass out the backfield, and I think that would be a huge upgrade over Jeremy McNichols. And I don't hate Jeremy McNichols at all. I just think Rachaad White is so much better. I think you could bring him in, and he could tote the rock a little bit too. So that would help out the run game as well directly, as well as help the passing game. I think that'd be a huge pickup for the Commanders. Picking a tight end one would be great as well. If you want to re-sign Zach Ertz as well, kind of have some insurance policy, and I don't have a problem with that. Defensively, we need Mikey, Trey, Javon Kinlaw. If Payne is back, Payne will be a starter for you. And I would say Will Harris. You got 5 starters. You need 6 new starters. And I'll say Jordan McGee will be a starter as well. I think he has taken the he's taken the coaching and the mentorship of a Bobby Wagner. I think he's ready to take that next step to be a starting linebacker with the green dot. So you'll need about 5 new defensive starters. Yeah, probably at least 4, bare minimum 4. If you want to count Dorrance Armstrong as a starter when he comes from the ACL tear, you can count him as well. So you've got about 6 defensive starters next year. You'll need 5. You'll need a new nickel corner. I believe you'll need a new safety. You'll need another linebacker. Yes, Frankie Louvu, I guess. But he's looked underwhelming this year. I think he could bounce back. I don't think Frankie Louvu's cooked by any stretch. He did have a really bad. Frankie Louvu was not good. He's not a big dog crap. But so the rest of the defense was dog crap, including the precious Bobby Wagner. He was terrible too. Specifically coverage. Now as a run defender, he was pretty good. As a pass defender, he was terrible. So got a lot of work to do, man. Are you going to keep Deron? Are you going to start Johnny Newton? Are you going to bring in a guy to win your rotation? Are you going to bring back Eddie Goldman? It's a lot of questions need to be answered. Need to be answered very quickly, I think. And I think those questions will be answered very quickly in this offseason. Early March, we're going to know where this team is at. I think this team is just fine. I've got 5. If I could play 17, we'll be fine. We'll be fine, man. Just tough. Jaden Daniels covered a lot of weaknesses on his team in 2024. And they got exposed this year. That's okay. That's okay. But now we know what the weaknesses are. We need to attack them and we need to fix them. That's just what it is. Now you're not gonna fix everything in one off season, but if you can get an elite player at every level of your defense, or at least a really good player that you can rely on, you can depend on every level of your defense. If you can get a wide receiver 2 next to Terry McLaurin, you can get a tight end 1, you can get a good pass catching back. And if you can have if we know Benson's a tight end 2, and we know John Bates the best blocking tight end in football, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We turn the ball over less, run the ball better, get more aggressive on 4th down, score more points. We know we have a kicker in Jake Moody. Yeah, get it. He missed a 24-yard field goal there. Don't give a crap. He made a 56-yard and made up for it right away. So, got a kicker. We're fine. The Commanders will be right back in it next year. I think this roster is not the best roster in the world, but Jaden Daniels is an elite quarterback. In year 1, it covered a lot of weaknesses on the team. This year, he didn't play as well. He didn't play as much. Obviously, only played 7 games. In the games he finished in, he played very well in. The games he did not finish in, he did not play well in. So that's just what it was. And Jay will be just fine. I think Jay will go back to the drawing board. You go back in that VR, learn things he didn't learn last year, learn how to tap the blitz better, learn how to let the ball go quicker. I think that Cliff Kingsbury going to kind of evolve his offense. He is back, and we'll go from there. Come on. I trust Adam Peters. I trust Dan Quinn. I trust the process. I trust his front office and his coaching staff. And I believe in my team. I believe in my team. I have a pretty belief in my team that they're going to bounce back next year, and the Washington Commanders will have a pride that we will all be proud of. Like, comment, subscribe, comment your thoughts. I'll take it easy. Love you guys. And I'll catch y'all on the next one.